We'll start with Michael Love.
Hi, Jay.
Hey.
D1 Baseball reported a couple days ago that the NCAA is going to do some sort of predetermined regional and super regional setup. It was a little bit confusing how exactly that's going to work. What is your understanding and interpretation of that situation?
You know, honestly, it's the only thing I looked at is merit matters. That's the line that I read, and that's where my focus will stay. Is obviously we'd love to have postseason baseball in Tucson. There's a lot of baseball to be played for that to happen. We are submitting a bid that will be in by Monday. But my interest is what we need to do with our team on the field, and so that we can do the best we can to create that as a potential opportunity for our team.
Sure. I assume you were glad to hear that merit was a component of it and it wasn't just, randomly being done or just based on facilities strictly.
Yeah, I mean, in competitive athletics, really the only thing that matters or should matter is what happens on the field. And in the society we're in today, there's a lot of distractions and things that take attention off of the field. I think it's great that it's going to be based on what happens on the field.
Right. You've mentioned several times this season that this particular team, there's a lot of support within the dugout. It's really good team chemistry. Guys who maybe have the talent to play, haven't been playing, but have accepted their roles. Is that something that you preach, or do you think it's just unique to the makeup of this particular squad?
Well, we always want to have an incredibly selfless group of players and an incredibly competitive group of players. And I think these guys mirror that, within our team, within the type of culture that we try to create. We might manufacture some of those things artificially to try to help build it. But in reality, those things come down to the maturity of the player. And, really, I look at this time in their lives as they're transitioning into manhood and being a competitor. Being a great competitor is part of becoming a man. Being a selfless person is part of becoming a man. And I think a lot of guys have done a nice job moving in that direction. And I think the other thing is, when you're confident in yourself and your own ability, it makes it really easy to pull for other people. People that don't pull for other people usually have some kind of underlying insecurities about them.
Next question, Brian Peterson.
Sort of on that note, I've noticed that, this past game, you got in a lot of guys because you had the opportunity to pinch hits and things like that. But for the most part this season, it's kind of been almost the same starting lineup every day, other than when you've had to make a change because of injury at third base, left field and whatnot. Is this kind of equivalent to thinning out your bench in basketball as the season goes on and you have your fixed group that you go with and then move from there?
Not really. I think, Brian, it's a good question. I mean, for me, I take each game as its own entity, and whatever we need to do that night to win, that's how we set up the game. Tuesday night was different relative to who was available on the mound and how we wanted to set that up. And we really got a boost by, Randy in the middle of the game and Quinn in the middle of the game, which really in the offense, doing what we do to simplify that. And on the position player side, it's the same thing. I mean, you might see some of the same names, and particularly those first 7 guys, they're the best offense in college baseball right now. And so we're going to continue to play those guys. With that being said, we have more than 9 good players. I mean, we won in Frisco largely because of the contribution that Blake Paw made. We won the Oregon series largely because of the way Tanner Otremba played. We won 3 out of 4 against Arizona State largely because of how Nick McCleary played. And there's other guys. I think it was a nice snapshot the other night of getting some guys in that maybe haven't got as much time that are going to be good players here in the future. And it's important for their development when those opportunities come forth to get them in there. And, who knows what's around the corner, relative to injuries, COVID, all of those types of things. So we want to make sure we have guys prepared to play. And it's something that I'm proud of, is we haven't had any drop off regardless of who's been in those spots. And that's a credit to the players working and being ready at a moment's notice.
Thanks.
Next question back to Michael.
In sort of that same vein, Chandler Murphy started the season. I think he was the second guy in the rotation. And then when you got into Pac-12 play and weren't playing those 4-game series, you shifted his role. How did he handle that whole situation?
Pretty good. I mean, Chandler's a competitor. He's a winner. I think he would love to pitch a complete game every time he pitches. I'm sure he'd love to pitch in every game if that was something that you could do in baseball. I think I saw a big shift in how he approached things and how he worked within the last week. And the outing against Arizona State was not a surprise to me. Pitched with great tempo. He has great pitch ability. I have a good friend that's a very good pitching person in professional baseball, that has watched some of our games and last year and this year and said, hey, that's going to be your best guy at some point. And he sure pitched like that last weekend. And I think if he continues to prepare and do the things that he can control at a high level, we're going to win a lot of games with Chandler on the mound.
Sure. What do you recall about his recruitment and also kind of the period around the draft? I guess he had maybe some shoulder tendonitis or something that might have thrown the scouts off or something like that.
Yeah, I'll start with his recruitment. It was very competitive. He probably heard from me a lot more than a 15 or 16-year-old wants to. There was just something I was always drawn to about Chandler in terms of his pitchability. He always was a winner, always collected a lot of outs, loved his demeanor, his disposition on the mound, and really felt like he would be a high-level starting pitcher and impactful to our program. And, honestly, I was at one point, I was like, we're not going to get him. And literally made a switch in my mind of like, there's no way I'm letting this guy go anywhere else. And I think there's a campus visit one time where him and his dad were trying to leave. And I talked to them until I was going to get the answer I wanted. And I didn't quite get it immediately, but eventually we got it. And, let's just say it impacted that series last weekend tremendously. So
good call. So Dante Williams and Jacob Blast both have been hit by pitches 12 times this season. They kind of rank among the national leaders. Dante was hit 8 times in 15 games last year. It seems like there's always 1 or 2 guys on the team who get hit by pitches the most every year. Is there a skill to that, an art to that? Why do you think that happens to certain guys more than others?
Oh, I think both of them do a good job of staying within their approach, of managing the plate, of managing both sides of the plate. You can't just pitch them one way to get them out because they're going to hurt you, with their speed and their hitting skills. And when there's not one way to pitch, you make the pitcher uncomfortable. And sometimes they lose command. And when they lose command, you end up with some hit by pitches.
Randy Abshire said the other night that he kind of viewed Arizona as the rebels of the Pac-12, a team that other teams don't want to face. It kind of reminded me of what Jed Fish is trying to create with football. He's talked about being the toughest team on everybody's schedule. What did you make of Randy's comment in that regard?
I hadn't heard that. I mean, I want teams to hate to play us and to be very uncomfortable playing us. Just there's a relentless pressure in terms of quality at bats, suffocating defense, and pitchers that really pound the strike zone. And I want teams to hate to play us. And that doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the pressure that we apply while we're playing.
Yeah, that's probably what he was referring to mainly. Cal ranks 2nd in the conference in stolen bases. And you guys have done a really good job of controlling the running game. Daniel Susak has been very effective at throwing out runners. How do you assess that matchup in this weekend series?
Well, it'll be important. Our pitchers need to do their job relative to their holds, picks, varying their timing to the plate, picking, pitch calling. I think all that's important. Daniel continuing to do a good job behind the plate, and you can't outrun the baseball. And if you manage the game well from the mound, it makes it very difficult to steal bases. And our pitching staff has done a good job to that. So much so that, people have a hard time even attempting to run. And we'll try to make that the case this weekend.
Sure. Cesar Salazar, back in the day, He was very good at throwing out runners also, but it seemed like his biggest asset was he was super quick, getting the ball out. What is Daniel's best asset in that regard?
Well, I think he's a good athlete in terms of he moves really easily for his size, and he has a tremendous arm. And so you're kind of combining both of those things. And, with our pitchers, managing the game well, it makes it tough to be safe when you're stealing bases. You're going to run into outs if you're going to try to go.
Next question, Matt Moreno.
At this point in the season, are there any situations that you feel like you want to see more? You want to see your team in more just to get some more experience as you kind of move through the season?
It's a good question, Matt. I think you can create value out of any of them. Like it was a blowout on Tuesday, and so there was an opportunity to get guys in the game that we may need to contribute later on. So I'm never going to complain about a blowout, that's for sure. But I think that's positive. I think, playing in a couple one-run games the last couple weekends, playing from behind, I think our team has really done a good job of embracing where we're at. Tuesday was the first, Tuesday game. Granted, it's a rivalry game and all those kinds of things, but thought we were a little sluggish out the gate. Kobe Cotto and Dante did a good job of kind of rallying the team and getting us moving there in terms of the energy that they played with and pulling guys together. So I think that had value. But my confidence in our team is how they've approached any of those things, being on the road, being at home, 4 games in a row, midweek. I think they've responded in a winning type fashion to whatever's been thrown at them. And we're going to need to continue to do that as we move into the back half of the schedule here.
What are some of the things that Cal does well that you guys are focused on heading into this series?
Yeah, I think they're a good team. I think they're arguably the best team that we've played, in terms of looking at them from a preparation standpoint. I think they have very good starting pitching. I think they have a good lineup. They're very aggressive. They have guys that hit the ball for power, hit the ball for average. They look like they play with a lot of confidence to me. So it's going to be a good test. It's going to be a good weekend. I hope when we turn and look at the end of this thing, I think you see 2 teams that have a chance to have really successful years, and feel like maybe they're kind of laying in the weeds a little bit, but not to me. I'm very in tune with how good a team I think that they have.
Are there any more questions for Coach? Great, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, questions for Dante Williams, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Lev.
Dante, you've been around the program for several years now. Jay has commented on multiple occasions about how this particular team, the guys seem to support one another in a really strong way. How do you assess the team chemistry on this team compared to maybe some of the ones from the past?
I wouldn't really compare it to the past. It's just, everybody's pulling for everybody. We know our talent, we play with confidence and everything. So, when you want your guys to be more successful than you, that's just kind of showing your character, and it just keeps the trains going and stuff like that. So, at the end of the day, it's just us being brothers. Just want to see everybody be successful.
Sure. He's also referred to, quote unquote, superstars on the bench. And I think Chase Davis is one of the guys that he's referring to in that way. What has it been like to be around Chase, work with him as he patiently awaits his turn here at Arizona?
Yeah, for sure. That kid has the most energy I've ever seen from an individual. Every day, no matter what goes on outside of the field, family issues, whatever it may be, he always comes to the field with a clear mind and ready to get to work. And, definitely looks up to the older guys, and he's just ready to, get his experience, and whatever he needs to learn, he takes it in, and it's just, he's ready to become a real ball player. That's what I got to say.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
How fun was it to have Ari throughout the first pitch and the whole team out on Tuesday?
It was cool. It was cool. She's unbelievable competitor. I refer to her as a GOAT. So not many people can do what she did. So I respect her for that, and it's just one of the reasons why we blew out ASU the other day. So that's to her.
You scored a lot of runs this year. How fun is it to be on the bases, with the team hitting so well this year?
Yeah. I get on base and I kind of just, I have all the confidence in the world. Whoever's behind me will get me in the score. And it's just kind of like in my head, I'm like, the pitcher, don't throw that pitch because it's not going to be good for you. So it's just cool knowing that, my teammates have my back and, they're just unbelievable players and stuff like that. And just glad to be on this team.
Do we have any more questions for Dante? Yes, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah. So regarding the first pitch, how do you get picked to be the catcher in that situation? Do you ask to do that? Does Jay select you? How does that work?
No, I actually asked, keep it real with you. I asked the Monday, I think it was, he told us that she was coming out. So I was like, look, Aaron McDonald, GOAT, I gotta catch her. So I asked to catch Ari and it was cool.
Where does that rank on your kind of list of personal highlights here at the U of A?
It's up there. It's up there for sure. Yeah. Because I have a few connections with the women's basketball teams, a couple friends on the team and stuff like that. So, just having them in a different experience, not in the gym and stuff, finally getting out on the field it's cool to see them out there and supporting us and stuff like that. So, it's cool.
Right. So you and Jacob Blass have each been hit by pitches 12 times this year, tied for the team lead. You got hit 8 times in only 15 games last year. Is that intentional? Is it happenstance? Why do you think you're kind of constantly among the leaders in that category?
I don't know. Keep it real with you. I have no clue. I just, I stick to a good approach. Both of us stick to a really good approach. And I think Skip mentioned it. It's just hard to get us out sometimes. So, it puts a lot of pressure on the pitchers and they don't know what else to do. So, they might miss in a couple of times and feet might be on the plate too close and they kind of get scared up there. So, yeah, that's all I can say.
So sometimes, you'll have one go off your elbow pad or whatever, and it probably doesn't hurt that much, but I'm sure a lot of them do sting when you get hit in the back or the leg or what have you. Is it kind of the same mentality that you have when you're in the outfield, that you're just kind of taking one for the team?
Yeah, we teach don't move our feet. So anything at our body, don't move your feet, but if it's at your head, move out the way. That's just along with being a selfless player. Pass it to the next person. Like I said, when I get on base, I have full confidence that somebody's going to hit a double or a triple or a home run or something. So I do whatever I have to do, get on base, walk, hit by pitch. I don't care as long as I'm on base to help my team win. That's what I care about the most.
Sure. And I know Jay is very much about the day-to-day approach, pitch to pitch, et cetera. But kind of looking at the big picture a little bit, you've not played in the postseason during your career here. You guys are on track to do that, at least at this point. How important would it be for you to experience that?
Yeah, we all live to, see the postseason, go to the College World Series and stuff like that. So at this point, it's just one day at a time, really, honestly. It's what we have to do today at practice to, get us better for tomorrow's, competition we have. At the end of the day, it's just being where your feet are. I can't really look too far ahead in situations. We're talented. We have a lot of components that will get us there. So it's just a matter of us, going out to practice and being relentless every day in practice and bring that onto the field.
Any more questions for Dante? Great. Thanks, Dante.
Thank you.
All right, questions for Chandler Murphy, please raise your hand. We'll start with Michael Lev.
Hey there, Chandler.
How's it going?
It's going fine, thanks. You've pitched well here several times, but you've never pitched as well as you did the other night at ASU. What was working for you that night?
I think it was my tempo mostly. Also, my curveball, I was throwing it with confidence and getting over early in counts. Also able to throw for a strikeout pitch. Slider was working good as well. And my fastball location, I felt like was pretty good. So I felt like just mixing it in, throwing it in any count, and that helped me be successful.
Sure. What have you been working on the most with Pochiasky over the course of the season?
Mostly it's just been kind of like mentality and, you know, a few mechanical adjustments here and there, you know, to help me drive down the mountain better. But mostly it's been mental and trying to get in the right frame of mind with what you have to do next, especially going from a starting position to a reliever.
Sure. Speaking of that, I mean, it had to be disappointing to you to some degree to find out that your role was shifting out of the rotation into the bullpen. How did you handle that when you got the news?
Honestly, it wasn't disappointing. I mean, if the coaches want me to do one thing, I'll do it, and I'll just, you know, I'll get the ball and I'll try to do the best I could. You know, I just try to accept my role, and what I can do is the best, you know.
Sure. And in the role that you're in now, I think the way Jay said it regarding the ASU series was you're kind of on call, like at any moment you could come in and pitch a significant amount of time. How does that affect your preparation, both mentally and physically, knowing that, you know, you're in that situation?
I just try to stay focused in the game, and I try to take it one pitch at a time. I always try to stay warm throughout the game, try to keep my headspace right. And, you know, it's not really different from starting. It's just like you don't get as much time and you don't know when you're going in, but you just got to stay locked in at all times.
Next question, Ari Kozlow.
How cool is it to have Ari throughout the first pitch on Tuesday? And do you think that kind of like hyped up the team in that big win over ASU at home on Tuesday?
That was awesome. That was definitely one of the coolest things I've seen out here. You know, she played amazing, and congrats to them for making it all the way there. But it definitely hyped us up to have her out there and, you know, supporting us to play ASU.
Michael, go ahead.
Jay was telling us some stories about your recruitment. He said he was extremely aggressive in going after you. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I remember him talking to me, and as he said before, he said that he wouldn't let me leave. And I remember that time, and you know, we were trying to get back home because, you know, Phoenix is about a 2-hour drive, so it's kind of getting later. And he kept talking to us and kept talking to us, and, you know, obviously that stood out to me just to see how much he wanted me. And I thought it was a great process that I went through with Arizona.
What was he looking for out of you? Was he just looking for you to say yes, I'm committed, or like what?
You know, I think at the time I wasn't really gonna say it. I was still, you know, trying to see what was out there. But I really liked Arizona, and I think he wanted me to say yes, but I did really close after that.
Sure. And what other schools were you strongly considering out of high school?
You know, I went on visits. I kind of committed early. So I was just trying to see what was like the best fit for me. And, you know, West Coast schools pretty much. But I thought Arizona was a great fit, so I came here.
Sure. So we give a lot of credit to the catcher when a guy gets caught stealing. And obviously Daniel has done a really good job in that regard this year. But how much emphasis do they put on you guys to help control the running game?
They put a lot of emphasis on pitchers when we're, you know, controlling the game, because we have the ball at all times. So when we're on the mound, it's up to us what happens on the bases, because, you know, if we're slow to the plate, if we're not picking, if we're not holding the ball right, if we just keep doing the same thing over again, they're going to get a huge lead and, you know, a big jump. So that won't give Susak the opportunity to throw him out. And, you know, with his strong arm, he can do it. He can get it done.
Sure. Has that been a big topic of discussion this particular week, because Cal is one of the top base stealing teams in the league?
They haven't really said much about it. You know, we just try to get our work in during the week and try to improve for the next week. So I'm sure they'll talk about it maybe today.
Sure. I mean, you're technically a freshman. Daniel is a true freshman in his first year. How do you think he's handled the whole starting catcher responsibility?
I think he's done a great job. One of the best catches I've thrown to. We had Austin Walls last year, but, you know, I think he's definitely up there. And I feel comfortable throwing balls in the dirt with guys on scoring, like on third base, any count. And, you know, it's always great to have confidence when you're throwing on the mound. just so that, you can, make pitches that you need to.
Sure. Have you noticed him becoming more of a leader as the season has gone on? Has he been more vocal, or has he been that way kind of from the outset?
He's been like that, I think, all season long. Even in the fall, he's a great player. So I mean, great players, they lead, and I think he does a great job of it.
Matt Moreno, go ahead.
I know things can change quickly, especially once you get into Pac-12 play, but you guys have been able to stack up a couple series wins. Do you feel like you guys are starting to maybe hit your stride a little bit at this point in the season?
Absolutely. I think we're coming together as a team, and kind of putting everything together. And once we put everything together and we figure it out, I think we're going to be hard to beat.
What are some of the things maybe the coaching staff has talked to you guys about and maybe preparing you for this weekend against Cal?
I mean, they haven't said much about Cal yet, but they're going to say keep it one pitch at a time and just try to do the best we can. And you can always fall back to skill and don't try to just go to effort with everything.
Any more questions for Chandler? Great. Thank you, everybody. That's all we have for this afternoon.